Welcome to another episode of the brand called You, a video and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. I brought you some amazing stories over the last so many months, but today it's an unusual guest that I have, someone who's been a senior corporate leader and has now decided to become an activist politician. Srikant Narasimhan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashutosh.
Thank you. Srikant is the co-founder and general secretary of the Bengaluru Navnirman party of BNP. He's the founder of Veda Corporate Advisors. And before that, he has worked with Ernst and Young, ICICI, the Tatas. He's from BITS, Pilani, and from Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. So Srikant, what would you say are three key milestones in your life or career?
Ashutosh, I think you just talked about those milestones. The way I look at it is education was my first big milestone. I had never dreamt that I'll be getting into the kind of institutions that I would get into. The BITS Pilani, IIM Bangalore. I think those were very important milestones for me. Gave me a strong grounding in academics. Also made great friends, built a great network. I think that was a very, very important milestone for me. Entrepreneurship, I would say, was my second big milestone. Having worked in organizations like Ernst and Young, ICICI Venture, which are all large organizations, from there to starting up on one's own, and over the last 15 years, building up a team and organization, definitely gave me the responsibility, and not just the responsibility, it gave me the confidence to take the responsibility and ownership, not just for myself, but also for other people, albeit at a small scale. But that was definitely one important milestone that was very important for me. The third part is the part that you just talked about, my social life. The realization that there is a side to me which not just feels strongly about what is happening around me, around us, but also to do something about it. That's something that I never thought I would either do or even have the ability to do. All of the above was accidental. None of it was planned. It just happened. But now that it has happened, this education, this entrepreneurship, this social life, I'm very, very clear that not only should I be leveraging it, but also making sure that it delivers some level of impact on the ground. So those, I would say, are the three important milestones that I consider in my life and career.
Fantastic. So my logical question to you is, after a successful corporate career, which was taking you to higher and higher places, what made you move towards politics?
Okay, a lot of people ask me this. I will not call it politics.
Okay.
I would call it more like entry into governance and administration.
Okay.
And the reason is because Bengaluru NavaNirmana party is not truly a political party in that sense. We are focused only on municipal governance and administration. We don't have ambitions and aspirations of getting our people to become MLAs and MPs and getting into the state legislative assembly or the parliament, etc. So we believe we are different. So I would rather call it governance and administration.
Okay.
So as for the question on why, I guess there comes a stage in everyone's life when we have done a fair bit in our professional lives. You can never say enough is enough, but the mind starts thinking about other things, including what can one do for the society, for the larger good, etc. I'm sure many people go through the same thought process. It manifests itself in different ways for different people. Some people engage in charity, donation, participating in neighborhood programs, etc. But for me, the platform that I was able to create in Bengaluru called Bengaluru Apartment Federation, that gave me, first of all, the thought and subsequently the confidence and the conviction that we can actually work for governance and the cause of governance at a much, much larger level.
Fantastic.
And when you see so much of misgovernance happening around you in the city with no sign of it changing through the elected representatives and the officials, I realized that it's not something that we should just consider doing, but we should actively get into doing it. So I'm very clear about one thing. We are confident of making an impact through Bengaluru NavaNirmana party, but irrespective of what impact we're able to create or not, I don't think I will regret if we are not able to make that impact. Yes, we would want to do that, but I don't think I'll ever regret that. But with the opportunity that was there and with the potential that was there, if I'd not tried, if I'd not gotten into this, I think I definitely would have regretted not doing it later in my life.
Wonderful.
That's really what it is.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That's very well articulated. So let's talk about BNP. You just mentioned that it's a party of governance, and administration. What are the core values that you have built into the party as a co-founder?
I would say core values, let's look at it at two levels. One is at the organization level and the other is at the individual level. At the organizational level, I call it the 3 Ps. The first thing is positivity. We all know that our cities are in bad shape, and specifically Bengaluru is in a real bad shape. There is a lot of misgovernance. But I don't want people to keep harping about the fact that things have gone wrong, things are horrible, things are in a mess, etc. We all know that. How are we going to work on that with a positive approach to make a difference is what we would like everybody in the system to think about, to work on. The positivity, I would say, is one core value that we want to build in the system at an organizational level. Second, the question that keeps cropping up in our party is how do we make sure that we don't go the way of other parties?
Okay.
So one of the things that I keep re-emphasizing, and we all keep re-emphasizing, is we are here to deliver governance. We are not here for power. That's why we kept our focus exclusively on Bengaluru and only the municipal elections. So there's no question of going for more and more power. So let's do it to bring governance. And power is more a means to achieve that governance. Power cannot be an end in itself. So not for power is the second core value that we are building in the system. And third, we all know the state of politics today, not just in Karnataka or India, across the world. It's all polarized. It's all about this versus that, this religion versus that religion, this ideology versus that ideology, so on and so forth, right? We want to make sure that we make a humble attempt towards uniting people for the cause of good governance. So the third value that we are trying to build into this system is no polarization on whatever grounds. No religion, no caste, no ethnicity, no gender, no strata of the society, etc., etc. Let's all work towards only one cause. That is, how do we bring good grassroots governance to our city? The idea is to unite people and make sure that we don't polarize people further. So the 3 values at the organizational level is work with positivity. It should not be for power and no polarization whatsoever.
Understand.
And at an individual level, the people that we're trying to bring into the system who are playing a leadership role or who will ultimately contest elections, we're saying we need 3 important aspects of one's, or rather something that one brings to the table. One is, of course, integrity. One has to work with integrity. We have to make sure that we remove the word dirty from politics and make sure that we do things in a very clean and transparent manner. Second, we need people to work with passion. It's not enough to just keep criticizing vocally about what's happening. Yes, that's important. But if we can work with passion on those issues that we are seeing, I think we can bring about a great change. We want every individual to come with that passion to make an impact, not at a large level, even at the small level. And lastly, let's all have that ability to learn and develop the competence to know how we need to get work done for the city. Without that, you can have the passion, you can have the integrity, but if you don't know what to do, there's nothing that we can accomplish. It's something that has to be learned, but we are here to make people learn. So one needs to bring that ability to learn and build that competence to get things done. So at an individual level, it's about integrity, it's about passion, and it's about developing the competence to get work.
Fantastic.
Those are the values at an organizational level and at an individual level.
That's very good. But my question to you is that, you just mentioned that you want to be able to correct the poor governance standards,
Yeah,
but you're not interested in the power.
yeah.
Without the power, how do you correct governance? I thought you need the power to correct the governance.
Yeah, let me articulate that probably in a different way. I'm not saying we are not here for power.
Okay.
All that we are saying is power is not the end, it's a means.
Okay.
We need to get into power to bring about change, to bring about governance, and that's what we are here for. That's why we are contesting elections.
Okay.
But ultimately, we don't want people to start mistaking the means for the end.
Okay.
Right? So what we're effectively telling people is the end objective is getting work done, delivering governance. Power is just the means to getting there.
Okay.
So that's something that we keep re-emphasizing again and again, so that it doesn't guarantee that people won't go bad, but it minimizes the probability of people going bad.
Understand. So, this is a very interesting model, that the needs of a metro city are very, very different from the needs of the state, which are different from the needs of the nation.
Yeah.
And I've often said that cities like Mumbai or Bengaluru or Hyderabad, they collect huge amounts of taxes, but all the revenue that's collected is spent in the state with very little coming back to the city, which is generating the money. What is your hypothesis on why metro cities need a separate group of people who can administer or govern?
I will go one more step higher, Ashutosh, on that. I believe each metro city itself is different. The needs are different. The requirements are different. The problems are different. The issues are different. I don't think we'll even be able to find an approach or one framework that fits for a Delhi versus a Mumbai versus a Bengaluru versus a Kolkata.
Absolutely.
So just to give an example, let's say if you were to compare a Delhi versus a Bengaluru, pollution is a much bigger issue in Delhi when compared to Bengaluru, whereas in Bengaluru, more than pollution, encroachment of lakes, the depleting tree cover, these are all bigger issues that we face here. Similarly, if you look at public transport, Delhi has a fantastic metro connectivity, whereas in Bengaluru, it's just in its infancy, and the way that whole metro connectivity has been developing and evolving is completely pathetic. So and we don't even have a suburban rail infrastructure. Rather, we have a suburban rail infrastructure here in Bengaluru, but it's not being used. If you look at Delhi, safety is a big issue. I don't know how big an issue it is, but over the last few years, with the kind of incidents and crimes that we've been seeing there, safety is a big issue here in Delhi. Whereas in Bengaluru, I would say something like the landfills, the garbage problem, garbage falling into drains, those are bigger issues here. So I believe that each city has to be approached differently. The framework has to be different. So which means we need to have a very clear and exclusive focus on each city. I don't believe that what works in Delhi or what has worked in Delhi will work in Bengaluru and vice versa.
I agree with
So
you.
if you look at city governance, if you look at municipal governance, we have to look at each city, each metro, each town very differently. And that's really where decentralization is very, very important. You need to have local people taking charge, taking the responsibility, people who have a strong understanding of the local civic issues, getting together and trying to find solutions for the problems that that city is facing, and not just look at an overall approach. I think there's another question that you asked also with regard to Bengaluru's contribution vis-a-vis Karnataka. Is that something that you want to elaborate on as well? I'm happy to answer that.
The question, Srikant, was that Bengaluru, if you look at the entire state of Karnataka, Bengaluru probably contributes the largest chunk of taxes. Does Bengaluru get a fair share of the taxes it contributes for its own development, or does it get used up in the rest of Karnataka?
I honestly don't think that is an issue at all.
No? Okay.
I firmly believe that there is a fair amount of cross-subsidization that is needed in this country, whichever level you look at it, across the states and within the state, between, let's say, the capital city or the major cities versus the rest of the cities and towns and villages, etc. In fact, I would even go to the extent of saying, for example, something like cricket vis-a-vis the other sports.
Right.
If BCCI is earning a lot of money through cricket, I think it's only fair that some of that money is actually earmarked for, let's say, other sports, for the development of other sports. And I believe that it's the government's responsibility to do it. The point that I'm making is the issue today that we are facing is not whether Bengaluru, or for that matter, Mumbai, gets enough money or not. I think we get a lot of money. Just to give you a perspective, just a municipal corporation alone in Bengaluru on an annual basis for the maintenance of the drains, the footpaths, the lakes, the streets, the streetlights, etc., it spends almost about 10,000 crores every year.
So
That's 50,000 crores over a 5-year term. And
what is the annual budget of the MCG if they spend so much only on drains?
that's what I'm saying, 10,000 crores to be spent on maintenance of drains, footpaths, streets, streetlights, lakes, etc. It's a lot of money. So the problem today is not whether this money is adequate or not. I believe that it's a lot of money. The bigger problem that we are facing today is that this money is being largely misadministered, mismanaged, and misspent. And when I say misspent,
I understand.
I hope you understand the meaning of misspent.
Yes.
Hardly about 20 to 30% of this money actually reaches the ground. I think that is a bigger problem. And when that money hits the ground, given all the corruption and the mismanagement that goes on, it reflects in the quality of the work also, which means you keep spending that same money again and again on the same things. You fix a pothole, it again becomes a pothole next year. You fix a road, it becomes really horrible next year. You clean the drain, few months down the line, it again becomes horrible. So the problem is, how do we make sure that the money that is intended for that purpose is actually spent and spent in the right way? If we can first focus on that, I think we'll be able to accomplish a lot. Then will come the larger debate on whether this money is really adequate or not. But my personal view is, even that money is more than adequate the way I look at it. But I'm happy to be corrected. Unless we get into governance, we really won't know whether this is adequate or not. But from a priority perspective, I don't think availability of money or resources is today the constraint. It's more the mismanagement, the misadministration, and the corruption that goes along with it, which is a bigger problem.
So, the next question to you is that, what are the challenges BNP faces as a new party? I mean, you've got to raise money, you've got to tell people of your existence, you've got to tell them about your, your ethics and values, you've got to get volunteers. I mean, what are some of the challenges you face?
All of these, of course, are challenges. You've done a startup yourself. You've been through all those challenges that you talked about.
Right.
Building a leadership team, grooming people, raising funds, spreading the message, getting more money in. All of those are definitely challenges.
Right.
But I don't think those are the challenges that are foremost for a political party. Yes, those are big challenges. Those are challenges that we need to work on and get around. But I think there is a much bigger challenge that we face today as a political party, particularly as a political party which is trying to bring about a new model of governance. It's trying to bring about a new approach to governance and administration, which is bringing a new framework for governance. And that challenge is cynicism.
Okay.
Today, there is a lot of cynicism towards politics. Invariably, the word dirty has been associated with politics all the time. But more than that, I would say the examples, the experience of the recent few years has made people even more cynical.
Right.
People have seen New Age parties emerge in various parts of the city. They've seen some which have performed miserably. They've seen some of them fade away completely. And the ones that have succeeded, unfortunately, they've gone the way of all the other political parties. And you know the example that I'm talking of, because every time we try to convince people, the first question that crops up is, what makes you different? How do you make sure that you don't go the way of the other new age political parties? I'm not even talking, people don't ask us questions around how do you make sure that you won't go the way of a BJP or a Congress or any of the other major parties which are there. People keep asking us, how do you make sure that you don't go the way of, I would say, a specific party, but they keep asking us, how do you make sure that you don't go the way of any of these other new age political parties that have emerged?
Correct.
I think that has been the biggest challenge. So trying to get across to people with our focus, with our clear communication on our focus, showing through our actions and our communication that we are indeed different on the ground. Yes, the taboo is something that we need to remove, taboo associated with politics, but I don't think that's as big a challenge at all today, because a lot of people actually want to get into politics. But the cynicism which is there, that a new age political party, number one, can actually function and deliver. And more importantly, when it starts delivering, it won't go the way of, let's say, any other party, is the biggest challenge that we have to work on through our messaging, through our communication, through our actions on the ground, through the thousands of people now that we have built on the ground. We are now beginning to make a change in people's mindset and approach. But to your question, I would say that addressing that cynicism, and I think, let me clarify also that cynicism, I think, is fair. And I think people are well within their rights to feel cynical because of all the things that they have seen on the ground. And we believe that it's our responsibility to address that cynicism. It's our responsibility to make sure that we indeed do not go the way of any other political party and stay true to what we are doing to make sure that over a period of time we remove that cynicism in people's minds towards politics and towards political parties. I would say, apart from all the other operational challenges that we face, this is the single biggest challenge that we are looking to address. I think we are well on our path. We are making a difference, but there's still a long way to go.
No, no, I'm sure, and I think you're on the right track. So I've got time for maybe one or two questions now. Uh, my next question is that a party like the BNP
Mhm.
would probably have a huge number of constituents who are millennials.
Yeah,
They're the people who are going to change this country. They're going to change every city. And the country belongs to the millennials. How are you reaching out to them and how are you managing their aspirations?
I think it's a very important point that you touched upon, Ashutosh. I can't agree with you anymore that the millennials, the youth, they are indeed the future of the city, of the state, of this country.
Correct.
And what gives me great hope, great optimism, and great energy is that they come with an enormous amount of confidence. They come with a very, very high level of knowledge and awareness. Interestingly, we did a survey in between on the ground. We were trying to ask questions of people. Are you aware of the municipal corporation? Do you know who a corporator is, what the budget is, etc.? Interestingly, the middle-aged people and the senior citizens had no clue about that.
No, yeah.
Whereas some of the youngsters that we talked to, they might not have been very, very precise about the numbers, but they were very well aware about the corporator, what broadly the budget is, and so on.
Wow.
And these people, they want to bring about change. The youngsters, they are very action oriented. They want to participate. They want to bring about change. And what that means for a party like BNP is that they are going to be very, very important constituents in bringing about that change. So as of a few weeks back, we have actually constituted a youth wing for BNP called BNP NavaYuva, New Youth. And it's led by a youngster who's all of 21 years old, a guy by name Rishwanjas Raghavan Rishi, doing a fantastic job. And he's supported by a team of about 30 people right now who are now beginning to reach out. They are reaching out to more and more youngsters with passion and with the very, very simple focus and philosophy of educating them about what civic governance is all about and ensuring that they all start participating in this governance process that I'm talking of. Interestingly, some of them want to contest as corporators as well. Many of them want to play leadership roles at the ward level. Many of them want to take part in some of the active initiatives that we are undertaking. So you're right. They are the future. They are the hope for our city. And I'm very glad to say that today, BNP, we have a fantastic bunch of youngsters who are driving that process, driving that organization, BNP NavaYuva, and getting more and more youngsters in. That's one of the biggest energies that I draw from the organization that we're building today.
Fantastic. So I only have time for one quick last question, and this is a personal question to you.
Sure.
It's an amazing story in the corporate world, leadership at a governance level in Bengaluru. What does success mean to Srikant?
Success. That elusive thing, right? Success. Here is my personal view on success. I don't think success is absolute. You can't call anything in absolute terms as success.
Right.
I think success is relative. And that relative is not relative to one another. It's not about whether I am more successful than you or whether you are more successful than me. I would say relative in the sense of what one is able to achieve or accomplish vis-a-vis one's own skills and potential. I firmly believe that each of us are born and endowed with a skill or with a set of skills and with potential. And to me, success is all about how each one of us leverage that skill, harness that potential to deliver whatever impact and results that we can deliver within our sphere of influence. I don't think it can be measured in absolute terms, but ultimately it will broadly boil down to just doing an introspection and seeing if we are indeed leveraging the potential that the skill that we are born with, and whether we are really delivering the potential that we have. And to me, that's what success is all about. I can't say that I'm yet successful, speaking for myself, because I believe that I can deliver a lot more. There is a lot more that I have to offer at various levels, whether it's my personal life or professional life or the social life. But ultimately, success is all about introspecting, looking inwards, and asking oneself the question, have I been able to achieve the potential or even exceed the potential that I have been endowed with? If the answer is yes, then that is success. That's all that I would say.
Fantastic. Srikant, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. I wish you personally, BNP, the Bengaluru Navnirman party, and everything else that you lots and lots of success.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh. We really need each and every bit of wish that comes our way. It's a tough journey. So thank you so much for that. And really appreciate you asking those questions. The more we keep hearing those questions, the more we are able to reinforce what we stand for and what we really want to accomplish. Thank you so much. I enjoyed being part of this session.
Thank you again. Thank you for listening to the brand called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called You.